Republicans could win this.
Absolutely. All right, Representative Eric Paulsen is doubling down on an ad in which he attacks one of the state's largest health care providers. Paulsen claims Alina ignored sexual harassment allegations when his Democratic opponent, Dean Phillips, was chairman of the board of directors.
7 nurses say they were subjected to lewd comments, groping, and even assault. A doctor even accused Phillips' board of covering up the harassment charges.
Phillips says the claim is a lie. The ad is based on an 11-year-old lawsuit which was settled out of court. Last night on WCCO radio, Congressman Paulsen told me this.
This goes back to, Dean Phillips himself repeatedly bragging about being chair of the board at Alina, being on the board of Alina, and he mentioned it prominently in our first debate, using that as a qualification for his candidacy. And so I think his record should be examined and held to account.
What you have with this ad is something very unusual. Let's take out what Dean Phillips is saying about it. He's denying it. What you have is the attorney for the women who sued Alina accusing Congressman Paulsen of using her clients as props. Lori Peterson, the attorney here, has been sharply critical of this ad. She says Dean Phillips had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, I think this ad is going to be a lot more controversial in the coming week or so right before the election. And it's not just the lawyer for the women who is speaking out. It's also the former board members and Alina itself. So all of these groups now speaking out against this ad. And this is a Congressman Paulsen who has built a reputation over the last 10 years as someone who is a nice guy, who is civil, but he has really gone negative in this campaign.
And absolutely, this is also his ad. This is not a third-party ad. This is his campaign that has put together this ad. This is a